Hi friends, it's Becky, and today I'm going to be making some things with the Earthen Serenity box. This was from Potomac Beads. It's the Best Bead Treasure Box Edition, and it came with a lot of earthy tones, golden tones, and it came with 3 different colors of the waxed linen that they carry at Potomac Beads, so I wanted to do some knotting today. It's been a little while since I've done any sort of like jewelry, macrame, or anything like that. I've done a little bit recently, but most of what I did was like way back in the past when I was a teenager and just a little bit after it. So I thought I would harken back to that time of my life and do a little bit of a friendship bracelet type of knotting before we launch into some macrame with some actual beads. So let me pull out the beads that I'm going to be using for these. In the bead mixes, there were a lot of really fun and cool beads, and I think most people might have gotten some different beads in their bead mixes, but hopefully if you got these or something similar, I just wanted some kind of chunky big beads. I'm just picking out 5 of them, 3 of these little rondelle size ones, and then 2 of these longer duotone ones with some of these things. So I'm going to move these out of the way because I won't need them yet. Just so that I can get all of this set up with y'all before we get started. So I'm going to choose my beads out, and then I went ahead and pre-cut 5 lengths of the waxed linen. I cut 36-inch strands, and I cut 2 of the black waxed linen, 2 of the brown, and 1 of the cream. And so 36 inches is 1 yard. My grandma taught me how to measure a yard by holding the end of something that you want to measure in your fingers, because she used to work at a fabric store. And then you just kind of let it drift through your fingers and hold this part to your nose and extend your arm out as far as it'll go. And that would give you approximately 36 inches. And that's about where it ended on me. So my yard measurement is maybe an inch short than actual measurements, but it's close enough. It's like horseshoes and hand grenades. I probably won't work in a fabric store because of that. Anyway, because my yard is an inch short and I would be shortchanging folks. The order that I want to put them in, and it doesn't matter too much what order you do it before you start. It's just the order that I want to knot it in when we do this. And I don't know if you guys made friendship bracelets and you did like the candy stripe. That was probably the easiest pattern to do with that. That's what I'd like to do with these, is just do a couple of inches of candy stripe knotting. And so I'm going to put them in the order that I'll be striping them in. We'll start with black and then brown, and then cream and then brown and then black. So we'll end up with a thick stripe of black because it'll be 2 sets of knots deep, and then kind of skinnier stripes with the brown and cream sandwiched around each other. And that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so it doesn't super matter that they're completely in a row. They'll get out of order. You can put them back in order on your thing. And I'm just going to tie an overhand knot. I want to give myself some room over here on the end for working with closures. So I'm just going to go about 3 inches away, maybe 4 from the edge, and go ahead and tie my overhand knot. And so to do that, I'm going to wrap all of my cords around my finger like this. Slide my finger out so I've still got that loop, and then tuck all of those cords, don't leave any cord behind, through that loop and pull it tight. So when we used to make friendship bracelets, we would secure one end of what we were working on our jeans, usually by putting a safety pin through the knot and then putting a knot on like the knee of our jeans, and then we just work our knots, you know, while we're hanging out and watching TV or doing something like that. I'm not going to be doing that because number one, I'm wearing pajama pants and not jeans today. And two, that would just be really, really awkward for us to show us that. Now you can buy specific tools if you do a lot of knotting to help you manage your cords, to help you secure your knot better. There's like a tying station or knotting station that I think Beading has, something like that you can use. I don't have any of those, but what I do have is this bead board that has this nice wooden tray that it comes in. And this wooden tray is like just deep enough that a binder clip fits perfectly on it. So what I'm going to do is kind of bend this over the end and just clip with my binder clip. And now that's secure. And I can do my knotting from there on that. One thing you might do if you don't have a tray like this is if you've got a binder with a little clipboard or something, you can put the clip underneath, put that underneath the clip on a clipboard. If you've got any other sort of stiff boards that you can use a binder clip on, that would work. If you've got, oh, hold on, let me pull that down from up there. If you've got like a bead board like this that has a fabric bumper, you could use a safety pin and just pin it on there to the fabric and then go ahead and bead along or tie along the rest of that bead board. So there are options, but what you want to do basically is make sure that it is secured onto something for while you're doing your tying. All right, so I'm gonna just move these a little bit out of the way because we're going to be tying right here with these two to begin with. And then we'll move them over as we go. So the basic like friendship knot kind of a knot is this one where you make a little 4 with your knot and then pass the end up through that second thread and pull it up to the end. And then you do it one more time. And that moves places for that knot. So this one is now the one over here on the end. And I can get ready to do the next knot in a row, which is going to be my cream one. I'm going to tie onto that with my black knot. You just tie it, make a 4, go up. There we go. Move that one out of the way. And one other thing that I forgot to mention before we start is move things off of your desk that these cords could get hooked onto. Like I put up all of my pliers and my jewelry making tools because when I was practicing and having fun and trying to remember all of these knots, things kept getting caught on them and it made it for not a very fun time. So I put all of them away before I started this. It's just a way of just clearing things out of the way so things don't get caught. All right, and then the last one over here. So once I've knotted across all 4 of these with that same knot that started on the left, it will end up being my leftmost knot because it will have traveled all the way across all of these. All right, and now I can move these guys back over and start with my second color. I'm gonna scooch the camera in just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better with these knots. All right, so I'm making a 4 with my knot, crossing it over that strand, pulling that strand tight, and then pulling up with this one. And I'm going to do that again, cross, go under, And I'm up one more time. And I've made that knot over here. And then I'm going to do that with the next strand in a row. Make a little cross, a little 4. As far as like the tension on your knots, that's a personal thing. You can make it tighter, you can make it looser, however you want that to end up looking. But you can already see the stripes starting on there. We'll see another stripe in a minute, or on the next section when I start using my cream colored threads. So that's just the one, and then we're going to do that again. So it's always 2 knots, and then you move on to the next one. And they have like macrame boards that you can get that might help with managing your strands. Again, I don't do this often enough to justify buying one. Maybe if I bought one, I would do it often enough. I don't know yet. I'm just having fun doing something that I haven't done in a long time, and it is pretty fun. So now I've got my 1, 2 stripes. Let's do our 3rd stripe using our cream color, because that was the next in that order. This can get like really zen, you know? You can get into a rhythm of making these knots. It can be something really relaxing, really centering, just being able to do some repetitive motions while you're making these. It's something a little bit different, you know? If you don't do a lot of knotting, it could be something else that, like, you know, just stimulates a different portion of your brain than the normal jewelry making things where you're creating a textile with these, because that's basically what we're doing. Or you may relive some memories of making friendship bracelets with your friends in middle school or elementary school or even high school, if that's when you made them. Or perhaps you've made them more recently if you have kids or grandkids or nieces or somebody who likes to learn how to do these things, because it is so easy and repetitive that it's easy to teach to kids and how you do that. So I finished my cream knots, and now I'm going for some more brown knots. You can see that candy striping starting to take shape. And you notice how it's kind of diagonal, and that's because that's just the shape that the bracelet takes when you travel across all of these strands, doing the same knot all the way across it. Okay. And I'm going to zoom back out so you get a better look at my arm motions a little bit more. In fact, I'm going to zoom out even farther so that you can see all of this. said, that's a very zen sort of a movement. I'm feeling it just doing this. All right, 2 more. And 1 more. All right, so now I've had a chance for all 5 of my strands to be able to have a turn, to shine. And so they're right back to the same order that I started with my black on the outside and then my brown and then my cream on the inside. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this until I have about 2-ish inches. I say 2-ish because it might be a little bit longer. And I want to make sure that I end in the same order for the next part where I start adding some beads and doing a little bit of macrame. So I'm going to continue this until I get to that point where I start doing the additional actual macrame sorts of types of things. I just want to continue this little strap part for about 2 inches. It might be a little bit more, and that's fine, but about 2 inches and ending on this. And I will meet you back here when we've got that much finished. All right, so I have made this to about 2 inches. It's a little over 2 inches, just a little bit. If you include the knot, it's about 2.5. And I have done that with 3 repeats of that friendship bracelet candy striping pattern. So you have 1, 2, 3, and I finished at the same place that I started with my black, brown, cream, brown, and black in that order. Now, when I start this next section of macrame, that section is going to be kind of flat like this, and so there's going to be this little triangle of, sorry about that, this little triangle of these, I guess, threads that are just going to be without any knots in them, and I'm going to leave them like that because I want to use that as part of my design element. If you don't like that and you want to have this transition just kind of be a little more nicer, just grab a couple of 8-ohs and do like 3 8-ohs on this black one, string 2 8-ohs on this brown one, and then 1 on this cream one, and then leave these other 2 alone. And that should get it back to about the same level right there where you're going to start. And so since I'm leaving it, we're going to go ahead and get started with this. My cream thread is going to be my center thread, and I'm going to be doing a square knot macrame using the black and brown as my outside ones. So this is like my center one, and these are going to go on the outside. So for a square knot, I'm going to start over here on this side, on the one on the right. I'm going to make a little P shape again, and where it crosses here, I'm going to take my other one and lay it over this thread here, over the top of it, not underneath it, and it's going to be about parallel with my center thread. I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to go into this loop under that cross that the center and that other one make, and grab this opposite side and pull it through that loop, and then tighten this up. But I'm just going to be tighten it carefully, especially for this one, to make sure that I don't tighten it too weird and ruin that little design element that I wanted to leave that empty spot there for. So that's the first part of a square knot, and then the next part is on the other side. You do the same thing. You make that cross with that little loop on the side. You put the other side over the top of it, and then you go through the loop under your little cross there and pull it through. And there are other ways of teaching this, other ways of remembering this. This is the way that works for my brain. Maybe it'll work for yours. If you have a different way of doing this square knot and it works for you, obviously use that. All right, so then we've got that all tied right there. And the little bump over here on this side tells me that this is the side that I'm going to start with for my next part of the knot, because this is the square knot completed is both sides. So I'm going to do another part of the knot, but I'm going to put a bead in the way so that the knot kind of locks it into place. And when I was getting all of my things out, I had shown you these sparkly beads and these fire polish beads, and while I was making this, I changed my mind, because this part, this friendship bracelet part, they're such muted, like neutral colors, that I thought they would be fantastic in like either a non-binary, non-gender specific type of bracelet, or something for someone who just doesn't like wearing sparkles or bright colors or anything like that, something that is maybe more masculine coded. So I pulled these out of the bead box. These are still in that bead box. They're these square beads that have this like kind of a bronze coating over the black, or is it olive green? But they give this olive green vibe, and I think that they will go perfectly in here. And so what I'm going to do is take the end of that cream thread, and if it's a little bit frayed, just pinch it, just squeeze it and rub it along the end. That'll take that wax that's on it and help it hold its shape a little bit better while you put it through that bead, or put the bead through it. No, it's going through the bead. That's how it works. All right, so that's slid up into place. Now I'm going to do another square knot around it. And again, because I had already looked at the bump, I know that I'm starting on this side. So I'm going to make that cross, take this one over the top, and go under and through. And this should kind of hug that bead right there. And now since I started on this side, I need to do another one on this side to finish up that square knot. And you could do like 3 of these, 2 of these between each of these beads. I'm just going to finish each knot and then place another bead and tie a knot around it, because I feel like that is enough space for me for that to work. I'm going to go a little bit closer so you can see how those knots look as I'm doing them. Let's pop another bead on place. And see, I've got my bump over here on this side, so that's the side that we'll start with after I get my bead in place. And I've got my bead here. So I'm going to go around. This one's going to go over it, and under, and through. And then we're going to tighten this up. I'm just using my thumb to hold that center cord while I tighten these guys up a little bit. And since there's 2 strands in here, sometimes you might have to pull them separately. All right, so that one's in place. I need to finish that knot, so I'm going to go on this side, cross it over, go over, under, and through. And that snugs that right up. And now I can place another bead. And I'm going to go out to the wide view so you can see all of my hand movements for this one. Scooch it on. Make the cross go, and then this one goes over, under, and through. And then we finish that one off with this. And we go over, under, and through. All right, and I'm ready to place my next bead. And since this part was about a little over 2 inches, maybe 2.5 if you include the knot, and my next part, if I do the exact same repeats, should measure 2.5 inches for a 7-inch bracelet. And I'm going to exclude the half for all that, because I'm going to be making a closure part to it. So I'm going to want this to be 7 inches long. So this section needs to be 2.5 plus 2.5 is 5 minus 7. It needs to be about 2 inches long. So I'm just going to measure this now and see where I'm at. And it is almost 2 inches. I think if I add another bead right here to the end, that's going to be exactly 2 inches for that. All right, so where am I going and what am I doing? Yes, the same thing. This one goes over, under, and through. And I'm just going to stay with y'all while we do this. There's no reason to stop and come back when I'm just putting 5 beads on. Because yeah, I want to do a slide closure, which will be kind of fun to do, I think, using these. Scooch in a little bit. Yeah, oh, there. That's fun. We can look at that a little bit closer again. As long as this stays where I've put it, we're good. Yeah, I'm going to do another section of friendship bracelet knots like the first one, but we'll do it after I get these beads in place. All right, one last one. Here we go. Oh, that's not how you go. This one stays on that side, and then this one goes over it, under it, and through. There we go. That was a lot more complicated than it needed to be, I think. But we got there in the end. All right, so here we are. We are back at the end of our little beads section. And now I'm going to be putting these guys back in that same order that they were in before. And we're going to start another section of the friendship bracelet right here. And so for this, I'm going to go ahead and sort of leave it an opposite side. The bare ones, it's going to automatically just go at a diagonal because of the way that this works, and I'm totally fine with this. One, two, because we do 2. And then we do the next one. Do 1, 2. And I'm purposely leaving a little bit of this white visible. And then on the next one, I'm going to leave a little bit more of that brown visible. Again, to mimic that design element of leaving some unknotted thread in kind of a wedge shape over here on this end. There we go. And then the last one, same thing, but just a little bit more of it that's going to be showing right there. Perfect. And then one more. All right, so that is the start of that section. That's the transition to it. And I'm just going to do exactly the same thing as I did on the other side. I'm going to continue on in that same order, doing my candy striping with these threads or with this cord. And then when I get to the same length, and it's going to be 3 repeats, just like I did here. When I finish that 3rd repeat, I'll meet you back here and we will start finishing the rest of this bracelet. All right, here we are at the very end, and I have finished up this end so it mirrors the other, and I am ready to start finishing this. I'm going to unclip it now from my board, and just like we have a knot here on the beginning, I want to place a knot here on the end. It's going to be another overhand knot. I'm going to wrap it around my finger and put it through the hole. And I'm just putting my thumb here to stop it from traveling too far down when I tighten it. We do want it to be right next to it, but not too far down. All right, so now what we're going to do is make a closure for that. And so I'm going to take my extra ends here, and I'm just going to make a little kind of a cordage sort of twist with them. I'm going to take my black cords and my white and brown cords, and the white and brown cords will be together and these two will be together because the black cords are a little bit thicker than these. It might be that they have more wax on them or something, but I'm going to twist away from me on that black cord and then put it over the other cords like that, bringing it towards me. And then I'm going to twist these together away from me and then bring it over that towards me. I'm going to continue this motion until I have about, let's say, 2 inches of this twisted. Could probably be a little bit less, but that's okay. I just want to get as much as I need. For my twine. And by twisting it away from me and then towards me, both directions of the twist help it balance out. And that's about, let me see, using my little, yep, that's about 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and tie that off. There. If I need to make it shorter, I can. I'm not going to cut it until after I've finished the rest of it. I just want to have that twist in place for when I do the sliding closure thing, because we're going to make an adjustable closure for it. And I'm going to do the same thing with this end, where I take my white and brown, twist it away from me, and then bring it over towards me. Swapping places with this one. You're just swapping places every time you do a twist away and then a twist towards. And that just makes this cord all twiny and twisty. All right. This one is probably going to end up knotted pretty close to the end. That's okay. Whoop. On all of my ends. Hold on to all of them. Slide that knot close to there. All right. They're sort of the same-ish length, but that's okay. I'm going to want to crisscross them like this. And then the next thing I'm going to do is cut myself a length of the black cord. Where is my black cord? I just had you, buddy. And this doesn't need to be super long at all, this black cord, because we're just going to be doing a little bit of those same square knots over with these as our core. We're going to do it over these, and that way it will, oh, and you know, this is why I don't think I like this presentation or put up of this, is because now it is very, very tangled. I had to untangle both of these and rewind them. And this is, and while I enjoy untangling things, and people from my knitting group will tell you that I enjoy it because they used to bring me their tangled yarn and I would just sit there happily untangling yarn the whole night. I don't want to do it on camera because y'all would get real bored with that. So I will untangle that later. Put a movie on and unwind with a nice tangle. All right, so I'm gonna just find the middle of this, put those ends together, and then with these two together, I'm going to put this under it so it's around both of them. And I'm just gonna tie a knot. Around both of them. Now this one doesn't need to be very tight. It needs to be loose because these are going to need to slide within this in order to make the bracelets bigger and smaller depending on who is wearing it and whether you're taking off or whether you want it to be on for good or something like that. Anyway, let me scooch these a little bit further apart. All right, so I've got my little sort of knot. I'm just going to move it up here so that I've got more room to work from over here on this side. And I'm basically going to be doing that same knot that I did before, the square knot, except I'm not going to be putting any beads in between any of my knots. So I'm going to go over here, over that one, make that cross, then I'm going to go over, under, and through with the other side. It's a little bit awkward with the bracelet in the way, but that's okay because we can deal with it. There we go. And again, I'm not pulling it tight because I just want to have something that kind of encircles both of them and holds them together. I'm going to do the other side, over, under, and through. Again, not very tight. And then the other side, I'm going to do this about 6 times for both sides. It doesn't need to be very long, just enough. It's going to hold it, keep this from falling apart when someone is wearing it. And yes, I'm holding this in my hand instead of laying it flat because it just is a little bit easier for me to get that one that goes under it while it's in my hands. So that goes over the top, this one goes over the top, and then back behind it and through that loop, like that. All right. Smooshing these guys together a little bit. All right. Let's do, I think, maybe one more repeat. Okay. Yes. There we go. All right, that should be enough for the slides to go through. Let me just make sure that these will actually move. They do. And the wax also helps grip onto it. So there we go. Now, for these little ends here, I'm going to do a knot because these are not like nylon strings and threads. I want to get that knot as close to this as possible. I'm going to grab my beading awl and I'm just going to hold that right there next to it so I can pull this taut right there and then push it with my fingernails. And I'm gonna do another knot because that is a very tiny knot. And I want that knot to stay right where it's at. There we go. Perfect. All right. Do the other side. Because yeah, with like a nylon cord, you could burn the edges at this point and they'll just stay where they are. But this is wax cord, not nylon, and it is made out of linen. And linen does not melt with a flame. Weird, right? It's made out of a plant. Plants burn. They do not melt the way synthetic things do. All right, so I've got some good solid knots there. I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to cut fairly close to the knot. And I'm just going to leave that. Just going to leave it. All right, so now I'm going to just check and see if I need to adjust where these ends are knotted because they might need to be knotted a little bit closer. All right, this is going to be the furthest. That's very, very loose. Let me tighten this buddy up. And then tighten this side up. There we go. So it's not too tight when it's at its tightest. I think this one I might go a little bit, if I want it to be the same length as that one, I might knot this one a little bit closer so that they're an even length. because I can still get it off when it's extended to that length. All right, so let's get this one, and I'm going to knot it a little bit closer, and then I can cut it, and then we'll be done. Okay, let's get that knot through the hole first. Okay. Okay, so I need to undo that second knot, if I can. Let's see. I am sorry that I'm out of range. I'm just trying to undo my second knot, or that first knot that I made, because that second knot is going to make this an even length, and I just want to be able to cut this so it matches this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tighten this up really, really, really well. I'm just going to cut right there. Right there. And then do the same thing on this end. Tighten it up really, really well. And cut it right next to the knot. All right. Here we go. I've got a macrame bracelets using the waxed linen with an adjustable sliding closure. That reminds me of the friendship bracelets I used to make. I think I'm going to give this to my brother. He would definitely wear it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed making this with me, following along. And I have an idea for another macrame project later this week that we'll do with the same box. But this is the first one. Hope you all are going to have a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.